I'm very surprised that I'm only just now doing this rant because this is something I've been wanting to rant about for years, but for whatever reason, I just never got around to doing it. Maybe it's because I figured, everyone already agrees with me on this subject already, presumably, so what's the point in talking about it? But that hasn't stopped me from talking about other trivial subjects in the past, so fuck it. Fuck daylight savings time. More specifically, what we already just encountered, pushing the clocks forward. Everyone else seems to really fucking hate the time change in the fall, but I've never minded it because, well, I've always preferred the night over the day, so I always liked it getting darker earlier. Not to mention the extra hour of sleep. I love sleep. It's a nice escape from this fucking world, so if I get to experience that for even just an hour longer, then I welcome that with open arms. Now, this is me speaking from purely my own perspective because I understand the early nighttime is the basis for a lot of people's seasonal depression in the winter, and I'm not knocking that. I'm just weird and like it when it gets darker earlier. I understand there are perfectly valid reasons to not like the time change in the fall. Anyway, jumping ahead 1 hour was fucking miserable when I was still going to school. I would be fucking dead in the morning on the first day of school after the time change. Nowadays I go to sleep at ungodly hours of the night and wake up in the afternoon, so it doesn't affect me as much, but even still, I have trouble adjusting. Much like we all do, because it is a disruption to our sleep patterns. We now have to adjust to time being an hour forward. And I am fucking sick of doing this twice a fucking year, having to adjust to time being either an hour forward or an hour backward, even if I do like it when time goes backwards. I'd be fine with either sticking to daylight savings time all year or standard time all year. Not just because I find it fucking annoying having to adjust to the time changes, but because this shit is also a detriment to our bodies. From Harvard Health, research suggests that changing our clocks twice a year can have various health consequences. Of the two, springing ahead 1 hour tends to be more disruptive. That hour change can disrupt our circadian rhythms, the body's natural 24-hour cycles regulating key functions like appetite, mood, and sleep. This can lead to health consequences such as an increase in risk in heart attacks or strokes. Also, a current biology study conducted in 2020 found that the risk of ending up in a fatal car accident increases by 6% as a consequence of pushing the clocks forward. So this isn't just a matter of, you just don't like daylight savings time because you don't like it that you lose an hour of sleep. Just adjust to the time change, you pansy. No, this has a real negative and potentially fatal impact on people. And we are still doing this shit because in the 1700s, Benjamin Franklin came up with the idea to push the clocks either forward or backward at certain points of the year so the populace can save money on candles. Yeah, that's totally still a relevant issue nearly 300 fucking years later, now that we have electricity and electric lighting. Wait, actually, now that I mention it, I'm actually running short on candles. Better run out to the store and buy some immediately because come nighttime, I'm not gonna have any light in the house. Otherwise, who the fuck actually has this issue in the year of our Lord 2024? And you may say, well, the modern day equivalent of this issue would be saving money on your electricity bill because you wouldn't be turning on your lights as much because of there being more sunlight. I'm sorry, do you only use your electricity just to turn your lights on or off? You may have a TV that you watch during the day, or a game console, or you may have your air conditioner on during the day, or your heater, or a fan, or you may have your phone charging, or a million other fucking things in your house that consume electricity regardless of what time of the day it is. And it ultimately depends on how you utilize the electricity in your home. For example, my uncle has been working from home since the pandemic hit 4 years ago. He has his work laptop hooked up to a monitor on the island in our kitchen, and when he's working during the day, he still has the light on because sunlight alone does not always provide sufficient enough lighting in your home. So it's not like everyone just collectively not has their lights on in their home during the day. And even if you do live like that, the reduction in your electricity bill is likely not sufficient enough to warrant keeping the time changes, because surely you have plenty of other electronics and such eating up your electricity all day, every day. In 2018, Marco Rubio introduced the Sunshine Protection Act, and in 2022, it passed the Senate. But every iteration of this act has been slapped down by the House. This would make daylight savings time permanent federally unless a state already observes permanent standard time like Arizona, for example. I've seen a lot of people object to this because this would mean daylight would begin an hour later year-round. Commuting to work would be more difficult, going to school in the morning would be more dangerous for children. Congress did enact permanent daylight savings time in the 70s, and these two reasons were the main reasons why that was scrapped so quickly. So I say leave it up to the states to decide if they want to have permanent daylight savings time, or permanent standard time, or hell if they want to keep the time changes. In my perfect world, a state would allow its citizens to vote on whether or not they want to keep the time changes, and if the vote mostly goes to yes, then citizens can vote on whether they want permanent daylight savings time or permanent standard time. You know, let citizens have a say on an issue that directly impacts them, especially an issue that directly impacts their sleep pattern, and thus can also negatively impact how they function during the day. And that can potentially not just be a risk to the individual only, but also pose a risk to the safety of the general public. All in all, changing the clocks fucking sucks. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.